a new experience for us. Fortunately, our parents separated, so my mother came back up here with her family, and we were placed because she had to put us somewhere. She had to work. But what I look forward to mostly was every summer they would send us to a Don Bosco camp in Wayne. And they would give us 3 months out there to get away from the city. And well, what really took my fancy, so to speak, is they gave everybody a garden to till and to work with and to reap what you sow. And that's what I've been doing since I plant a garden every year. But we had our own little plot to weed and to nurture. And we had a huge field where we could grow and do anything we wanted to. And we were situated just across from Lovejoy Pond. That was the main road. I forgot the name of the road. And there was a big field there. My father would come up once a year from New York, and they allowed him to tent out. And they allowed us to fish with him just off the shore. And he would catch white perch, and he would give it to the sisters as well as have some. And I remember those memorable thoughts. My mother didn't have a car, and my sister was living in the local area and with her husband. And she would come up once or twice during the summertime to Wayne and visit us. And those days I longed for so much because it was kind of lonely out there, even though you have my twin brother. But it was looking for that one moment with my mom, and it was so soon. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and when she departed, I knew that it was going to be a month or two before I would see her again. And but they kept us busy, and they gave us a lot of entertainment. And that's what I really enjoyed about the Hilly Asylum of Don Bosco. And I was up to, well, it was every summer. I think it was 4 or 5 summer camps I spent up there.
So, I wanted to interject here that clearly a lot of times these children were going off to these places with mixed emotions. They had to leave their families. And so it's clear that, you know, this was not the happiest time in their lives because of the difficulties they were going through. And so I've often heard from our informants about, you know, they were not always thrilled to be in the orphanage, no matter how wonderful the care was. And in retrospect, you know, they're happy for what was given to them, but they don't remember this period in their lives as being the best periods. Nonetheless, they remember happy times. It's interesting, there must have been schools and classes, and this is what everyone has told me, but the informants, they don't remember the school classes. They remember things like going to Don Bosco camp and going fishing, and Bart, who was the one who was just speaking, had a great story about being chased by bees and having to jump into the lake. It was wonderful. Other things, they were French-speaking institutions, at least up until the 50s, and after which some English was spoken, but children from different kinds of ethnic backgrounds were welcome. I think the notion of keeping family together becomes a really strong theme. An example, we interviewed a woman who was a child when as a child, her dad worked at St. Mary's Hospital in the boiler room. And she was allowed to, at night, she was allowed to go and bring him his supper and sit in the boiler room. And clearly they were less concerned with, safety codes and the potential of lawsuits than having this little girl eat dinner with her dad. And she remembers petting the rabbits who were there for the rabbit tests and all kinds of things. Yeah. My students didn't know what rabbit tests were. They had no idea. Anyway, but French-speaking institution, also a religious background. These were nuns, and they were always on the lookout for potential candidates for the priesthood. And you'll hear about that from Marcel, and then we'll see from there. I think some of it's self-explanatory, the next bit. So, here we go.
and all spoke French, and those of us who didn't speak French learned it. I knew French from home, but not everybody did. During my period, the sisters were furnishing altar boys to St. Peter's and the hospital and the Michael home, and we would leave in the morning with a brother and a priest and make the rounds. I also simulated being a priest and trained altar boys in my area, so much so that the nuns were after me to become a priest later on, and I had no interest in that. The sisters were real sweethearts, and some of them weren't. They're just like ordinary people.
And the Sister Maria, she was strict. I can say she literally cracked the whip. And then some. So you wanted to make sure that when you hit the pillow, there was no playing, no fooling around, because you didn't want to face Sister Maria. She had a job to do, and everybody had to have their sleep for the next day. And trust me, I was there a few times when I should have been in her face, you know, and being disciplined. But you didn't want to do that too often. But it was very well controlled, and I really enjoyed my stay there because of what it did for me.
Mon père allait délivrer une on a rencontré d'autres gens, mais ma mère était toujours en maison avec les enfants. Et c'est beaucoup d'ouvrage. Quand tu restes une ferme, tu as à préparer à tous les jours. On parle de déjeuner. Alors, son mari, mon père, travaillait fort. Elle me dit que c'est un gros repas pour lui. Après, nous autres, on allait à l'école. Quand on venait le soir, elle a préparé un gros repas pour toute la famille. Alors, je trouvais ça bien difficile. Et ma mère s'est dit, si mes filles veulent devenir religieuses, je ne les empêcherai pas. Mais, comment est-ce qu'on veut savoir si on veut devenir religieuse si on ne les connaît pas, les religieuses? On allait à l'école Saint-Augustin, à Augusta, et c'était les religieuses, les sœurs de la présentation de Marie qui enseignaient. Mais ça, c'est pas vivre avec elle, c'est pas connaître les religieuses, vraiment. Alors, ma mère a décidé, puisqu'on était deux, elle s'est déjà de nous envoyer dans un pensionnat. Alors, ici, à Austin, il y avait l'asile dont les religieuses, les sœurs grises, prenaient les jeunes filles pour leur aider à faire le ménage, à travailler avec les jeunes garçons. Et donc, ma mère a pensé de nous envoyer, moi je mets les mois d'aller là. Alors, c'était pas une punition, elle nous a envoyés pour que nous sachions qu'est-ce que c'était un peu, qu'est-ce que les religieuses faisaient comme ouvrage.
And there was one sister that I really, really enjoyed. It was Sister Teresa. She was the sweetest, I think she was like a receptionist. She was the sweetest lady, so timid and so loving. I know she's up in heaven, because she's just a beautiful person in and out. And there was a Sister Lassard, some of those that I recall. Again, it's been a long time. And there was another sister that I didn't care for, but it was always one. And when I go by the Hilly Asylum, I don't look at it as the antenna banner. I just see Sister Teresa at the door.
And that's what we have. So clearly there's a relationship that develops, and I included Aliette's story because I think in a way it parallels some of the children's stories in that, you know, it was a big family. It seemed like it would be a good idea to test the waters and find out what it might be like to be a sister, and this was an opportunity to do it. And the fact that we had such opportunities in this area, that it wasn't simply an orphanage, but a very complex system of relationships that formed within the community and became, you know, just a very important structure. And again, I think, and it's on the National Register of Historic Places, the Healy Asylum, and I believe it's empty now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it was for a while the in-town manor, and I think it was a residence for the elderly.